The Altai mountains of Mongolia feel ancient in a way that is difficult to describe. Glaciers carve through valleys that have remained unchanged for millennia. Winds whisper across steppes where nomads have wandered for thousands of years. The landscape itself seems to remember things that human history has forgotten. For centuries, these mountains have held their secrets. But in the past decade, archaeologists have begun uncovering evidence of something that should not exist. A sophisticated civilization that flourished in these remote highlands long before conventional history says any advanced culture could have survived here. What they have found has left them baffled, and what they are discovering now might force us to rewrite everything we thought we knew about the origins of civilization. If you have ever wondered whether there are still mysteries hiding in the forgotten corners of our world, trust me, you will want to keep watching. Because what is emerging from Mongolia's frozen ground is unlike anything researchers expected to find. Let us start with what sparked this investigation. In 2012, a team of German and Mongolian archaeologists working in the Pazyryk Valley discovered a burial mound that had remained frozen for over 2,500 years. Permafrost had preserved everything: the wooden burial chamber, the textiles, even the body itself. But when they examined the artifacts, they found something impossible. The textiles showed weaving techniques that should not have existed in Central Asia during the Iron Age. Complex patterns used plant fibers that were not native to the region. Dyes derived from sources that required sophisticated chemical knowledge. The quality rivaled anything produced in the ancient Mediterranean or China. Dr. Natasha Polosmak, a lead researcher from the Russian Academy of Sciences, described her initial reaction with a single word: impossible. The craftsmanship suggested a level of technical sophistication that contradicted everything archaeologists believed about nomadic steppe cultures. These were not primitive herders. These were people with advanced knowledge of chemistry, astronomy, and engineering. But the textiles were just the beginning. Here is where it gets really interesting. When researchers began DNA analysis of the mummified remains found across multiple Altai burial sites, they encountered genetic signatures that did not fit any known population. These were not the ancestors of modern Mongolians. They were not related to Chinese, Russian, or Central Asian populations. The DNA showed markers that suggested an entirely separate genetic lineage, one that seemed to have vanished without trace. Some of the remains showed physical characteristics that puzzled anthropologists: unusual cranial shapes. Bone structures suggested adaptations to environments different from the Altai highlands, features that did not match any recognized ethnic group in the historical record. Who were these people? Where did they come from? And why did they disappear so completely that no genetic trace remains in modern populations? The conventional explanation is that they were simply absorbed into later migrations, their genetic contribution diluted beyond recognition. But the absence is too complete. It is as if this entire population was erased from the gene pool. Something happened here, something that standard archaeology has not explained. But here's the thing: the physical evidence keeps getting stranger the deeper researchers dig. In 2019, a joint Russian-Mongolian expedition discovered a previously unknown burial complex in a remote valley accessible only by helicopter route. What they found there challenged fundamental assumptions about prehistoric technology. Among the burial goods were bronze mirrors polished to optical perfection. The surface quality was so precise that these mirrors could still produce clear reflections after 3,000 years underground. Modern metallurgists who examined them could not explain how such perfection was achieved without industrial grinding equipment. Even more puzzling were the metallic artifacts showing evidence of drilling. Tiny holes bored through bronze with such consistency that they suggested standardized tool production. The drill marks showed spiral grooves identical to those produced by rotary machinery. The implications are uncomfortable. Either these ancient craftsmen had access to technology we do not know about, or our assumptions about what is possible with primitive tools are fundamentally wrong. Let me introduce you to something that local Mongolian communities have known about for generations, but that archaeologists only recently began taking seriously: the stone structures scattered across the Altai highlands. These are not random rock formations. They are deliberately arranged markers, some forming lines that extend for kilometers across the landscape. For decades, Western researchers dismissed them as natural features or simple boundary markers used by nomadic herders. But when researchers finally mapped these structures using satellite imagery and GPS, a pattern emerged that no one expected. The stone alignments point toward specific astronomical positions, not random stars, but precise celestial coordinates that correspond to the solstices, equinoxes, and certain stellar configurations. The alignments are accurate to within 0.3 degrees, a precision that requires sophisticated astronomical knowledge and careful surveying over extended periods. These markers predate the Pazyryk burials by centuries. Some may be thousands of years older, and they suggest that whoever placed them possessed an understanding of astronomy that conventional history says should not have existed in this region. Here's what makes this even more fascinating. Similar alignment patterns appear at ancient sites across the globe. Stonehenge, Göbekli Tepe, the Egyptian pyramids. All share geometric and astronomical relationships that suggest either remarkable coincidence or some form of shared knowledge. How could isolated nomadic cultures on the Mongolian steppes possess the same astronomical understanding as the builders of the world's most sophisticated ancient monuments? Unless, of course, the knowledge came from a common source. The local Tuvan and Kazakh shamans have their own explanation. They speak of an ancient kingdom called Shambhala, a civilization of immense knowledge that existed before recorded history. According to their oral traditions, this kingdom was destroyed by a great catastrophe, and its survivors scattered across the mountains, taking their secrets with them. Most archaeologists dismiss these stories as mythology, but oral traditions often preserve memories of real events, and the archaeological evidence emerging from the Altai is consistent with exactly the kind of sophisticated culture these traditions describe. Now, I am no believer in fairy tales, but when oral history aligns with physical evidence, you have to pay attention. The burial practices discovered in the Altai raise additional questions. The Pazyryk people embalmed their dead using techniques remarkably similar to those used in ancient Egypt. They removed internal organs. They treated the body with preservative compounds. They placed the deceased in elaborate wooden chambers designed to protect the remains for eternity. How did two cultures separated by thousands of miles and supposedly having no contact develop nearly identical mummification practices? Parallel evolution of ideas is possible, but the similarities are striking. The tattoos found on Pazyryk mummies add another layer of mystery. Intricate designs cover large portions of the body, depicting mythological creatures and geometric patterns. The precision of these tattoos suggests specialized artists working with standardized iconography. Some of the designs bear an uncanny resemblance to Scythian art found thousands of miles away in Ukraine and southern Russia. Others show influences that seem Chinese. Still others feature motifs that do not match any known cultural tradition. It is as if the Pazyryk people were drawing on artistic traditions from across the ancient world, traditions they should not have had access to if they were isolated nomads. Let us talk about something researchers discovered in 2021 that has not received the attention it deserves. Deep in a cave system in the western Altai, archaeologists found evidence of a large-scale mining operation dating back at least 4,000 years. The mine shafts extended hundreds of meters into the mountain. Ventilation passages suggested a sophisticated understanding of air circulation. Tool marks on the walls indicated organized extraction, rather than random digging. What were they mining? Analysis of residue samples revealed traces of turquoise, copper, and most intriguingly, a rare earth element called cerium that has no practical application in primitive metallurgy. Why would ancient miners extract a material they supposedly had no use for, unless they possessed knowledge of its properties that we have not credited them with having? The mining operation required coordinated labor, engineering expertise, and logistical support that contradicts the image of primitive nomadic herders. Someone organized this, someone with authority, resources, and technical knowledge. But here is the mystery. There is no evidence of permanent settlement near the mines, no housing foundations, no waste middens, no signs of the extended habitation that mining operations would require. Either the workers commuted from settlements we have not discovered, or they possessed mobility technologies that allowed them to work in remote locations without establishing permanent camps. Neither explanation fits conventional models of ancient life in the region. The satellite surveys revealed something else that archaeologists are still trying to understand. Beneath several valley floors, ground-penetrating radar detected anomalies, large voids that appear to be artificial chambers. Requests to excavate these anomalies have been complicated by the remoteness of the locations and the geopolitical sensitivities of the region. Mongolia, Russia, and China all have interests in the Altai highlands. International research requires navigating bureaucratic obstacles that can take years to overcome. Some researchers have speculated that these buried chambers might contain preserved archives, collections of artifacts, or even texts that could answer questions about who these people were and what happened to them. But until excavations are permitted, the chambers remain sealed, their contents unknown. Here is a pattern that keeps emerging from Altai research. Evidence of knowledge that then vanishes. Skills that flourish briefly and then disappear. Technologies that arrive fully developed without apparent precursors. The bronze casting techniques used by Altai craftsmen did not evolve locally. They appeared suddenly, already sophisticated, as if imported from elsewhere. The astronomical alignments were not preceded by simpler attempts. They were precise from the start. This is not how technology normally develops. Innovations usually show progressive improvement, earlier failures leading to later successes. But in the Altai, advanced techniques simply appear, flourish for a few centuries, and then vanish without trace. It is as if someone brought this knowledge here, used it for a time, and then took it away when they left. The question is, where did they go? Climate data from ice cores drilled in Altai glaciers provides a possible answer. Around 2,400 years ago, the region experienced dramatic climate instability. Temperatures fluctuated wildly. Glaciers advanced and retreated unpredictably. Grazing patterns that sustained nomadic life for millennia became unreliable. This instability coincides with the end of the Paleozoic culture. The elaborate burials stop. The astronomical alignments are abandoned. The mining operations cease. It is as if the population simply vanished over the course of a few generations. Not violently, based on the absence of battlefield sites or burned settlements. They just left. But where can an entire civilization go without leaving a genetic or cultural trace? Modern researchers have proposed several theories. Migration southward into China, where their genetic contribution would be diluted among much larger populations. Absorption into emerging Turkic and Mongolic cultures that displaced earlier inhabitants. A gradual decline due to epidemic disease or resource depletion. None of these explanations is fully satisfactory. The disappearance is too complete. The genetic erasure too thorough. The cultural discontinuity too sudden. Something happened to the people of the Altai that conventional archaeology has not adequately explained. Let me tell you about the most recent discovery. Something that was only published in academic journals last year and has not received mainstream attention. In a burial site near the border of Mongolia and Kazakhstan, researchers found what appears to be a navigation device. A circular bronze disc marked with symbols that correspond to cardinal directions, seasonal positions, and stellar coordinates. The disc is calibrated for latitude positions in the Altai highlands. It would have allowed the user to determine direction and time of year based on stellar observation. It is essentially a portable astronomical computer array. The precision of the markings suggests it was manufactured using standardized measurements. The alloy composition indicates sophisticated metallurgical knowledge. The wear patterns show it was actually used, not merely decorative. An object like this requires theoretical understanding of celestial mechanics, practical knowledge of metallurgy and casting, and cultural transmission of complex information across generations. It implies educational institutions, technical specialists, and organized knowledge preservation. None of this fits the conventional picture of nomadic steppe culture. The disk is now housed in a research facility in Novosibirsk. Requests by international researchers to study it have been pending for over 2 years. The bureaucratic delays have frustrated those trying to understand what this artifact reveals about ancient technological capability. Why the delays? Some researchers suspect political sensitivities. Acknowledging advanced ancient cultures in the Altai region has implications for national narratives in Russia, Mongolia, and China. All 3 nations have interests in controlling how this history is interpreted. But evidence does not respect borders. And what is emerging from the Altai challenges comfortable assumptions about the development of human civilization, regardless of which nation claims the territory. Here is what I think we are looking at. A civilization existed in the Altai highlands that was far more sophisticated than historians have recognized. They possessed astronomical knowledge, metallurgical expertise, and artistic traditions that connected them to other advanced cultures across the ancient world. Something happened approximately 2,400 years ago that ended their civilization. Whether it was climate change, warfare, disease, or something else remains unknown. But they vanished so completely that even their genetic lineage appears to have been erased. The evidence they left behind is frozen in permafrost, buried in unmarked chambers, and scattered across landscapes that few researchers have thoroughly explored. Every excavation raises more questions than it answers. And maybe that is the point. Maybe the real mystery is not what happened to this civilization, but why mainstream archaeology has been so slow to acknowledge what the evidence clearly shows. The Altai Mountains have kept their secrets for millennia. They are only now beginning to speak, and what they are telling us might rewrite the story of human civilization. Until researchers gain full access to the buried chambers detected by ground-penetrating radar, until the navigation disk and other artifacts receive proper international study, until the genetic anomalies are thoroughly investigated, we will not have complete answers. But the questions themselves are revolutionary. Because if a sophisticated civilization could exist in ancient Mongolia, flourish for centuries, and then vanish without a trace, what else might be hidden in the forgotten corners of our world? What other lost civilizations are waiting to be discovered beneath permafrost, under ocean floors, or buried beneath landscapes we have walked past for generations without knowing what lay beneath our feet? If you made it this far, thank you for exploring this mystery with us. Leave a like if the evidence from Mongolia surprised you. Tell us in the comments what you think happened to this vanished civilization, and which unexplored region you want us to investigate next, because some mysteries do not stay buried forever. The ice is melting, the ground is shifting, and the secrets of the Altai are finally emerging into the light. What they reveal might change everything we thought we knew about our past.